The first step to tackling a large problem is to just start at the beginning. Sometimes that blank white sheet of paper can be very intimidating. My recommendation, just make some marks, even if they're not the ones you're after. That'll give you something to show you what you're after or what you're not after. By having something on the blank page, it helps you to move forward with how to fill that page. We learned this in the studio. Welcome to my studio. All right, my artists, today our goal is going to be to create a face. It does not have to be your face, it doesn't have to be a friend's face, it doesn't have to be a real person's face. But you are going to still want to have a mirror. That way you can reference some of your own face so that you can work on some of the detail areas in this drawing. I'm going to be teaching you how to draw a face using standardized proportions. Standardized proportions are not necessarily always true. Different ethnicities, different ages, and genetic differences can all create deviation from the proportions I'm about to show you. We want to use them as an approximation, meaning your nose may be wider than the width of your eye. That could be because of age, and it could also be because of ethnicity. That's okay. You can still use the framework I'm showing you, and then when you look at your own face and you say, oh wait, my nose is wider, then you make it wider. But it also helps to show you how much wider, how much further out does it go. To start things off today, we need a 6 by 9 inch rectangle on our page. These can't be anything other than 90-degree angle. You want your box, your 6 by 9 box, to sit nicely on that page. Now I have my 6 by 9 box, I now need to divide it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it this way. Check, 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 pull. Now I need to get my line breaking the artwork in half this direction. Now that my box is drawn in there, I'm going to indent this slightly and indent this slightly. I want to have this equal to this. I'm going to break this space here into equal sections. 1, 2, 3 equal sections. So I want there to be 1, 2, 3 spaces, each one the same size. You can also use your ruler to measure it out. So now I have 1, 2, 3 sections, and they're all more or less the same size. Now I get to run some lines down. If you have to measure the distance from your center line to here, go for it. If you feel confident that you can make it parallel to this line, go for it. Same thing goes on this side. I'm going to take my ruler. If I have to measure the distance, I'll measure it. If not, I just eyeball it to make sure it's parallel to this line. There we have it. Next, I need to get these little indents, and I want to run those down too. All right, now I have my face and it's broken into 1, 2, 3 large sections. Yeah, I've got the line going down the middle also, but I'm now going to decide the height of my eye, keeping in mind that my center of my eye is going to sit there. I want to decide how high up my eye is going to go, how low down my eye is going to go. So I'm just going to make a rough measurement here, and we're going to say that my eye is going to live in this little tiny rectangle. Once I have that little rectangle, I want to copy it onto this side. The width between my eyes is the width of one eye. So the width of my eye from corner to tear duct is the same as the distance between tear duct to tear duct. So the width of my eye is equal to the width of my nose. My eye is 1 inch high. So I'm going to make a couple 1 inch marks. In fact, I'm going to make 1, 2, 3 of them. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Notice I'm only going in this box. I'm not worrying about this section here. I'm going to mark some things on mine. You don't need to mark them on yours, but this right here, the height of your nose is the height of 3 eyes. So I've got 1 height of an eye, 2 heights of an eye, 3 heights of an eye. So my nose line is right here. The distance down to my mouth opening, that's an important thing to stress. My mouth opening, and that's on a resting face. It's not on a face where you're making some goofy looking smile. or some angry looking frown. That's literally just your calm, resting face. The opening of your mouth is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, and it's right on that 4th line. So the opening of your mouth itself is going to sit on this line. So this is going to be our mouth line. And this, of course, is our eye line. Some of you that are really paying attention are going to say, Mr. Morris, we don't have enough of room for our chin and the rest of our face. Our chin will literally touch the bottom of this page, more than likely. Some of you, it may be a little bit lower, sometimes a little bit lower than the page, but for the most part, it's going to sit kind of on that edge. But first, we need to draw on the rest of the face before we can even worry about that. So let's get started. When you're drawing in your eye, it's important to remember that your tear duct has to touch the edge of the box. The corner of your eye has to touch the other edge. Just like when we were doing the grid drawing, I can make my shape and then copy my shape over here. Now here's the nice part. I don't necessarily like that my eyes are this squished, right? I want the opening of my eyes on this to be a little bit taller. I can adjust that as I go. All right, for the most part, my eyes are kind of blocked in there now. I've used the same methods that I showed you on our last video just to kind of put them in. I'm not shading yet. I just want to get the face kind of drawn in there. So the width of my eyes, the width between my eyes, and the width of my nose is the width of my eye. The length of my nose is the height of 1, 2, 3 eyes. So my nose base is going to go here. Noses. First things first, just like before, we worry about the septum. And our septum is going to rest on this line. Next, we're going to worry about the nostrils and the flange. And the flange of your nose touches the width of this box. It is going to look weird when you make your nose as wide as your eye. It's going to look weird at first, but as long as you keep on going with it, it'll start making more sense. Remember, our prefrontal cortex ignores things that don't give us importance. Our nose gives us some importance, but it doesn't show us emotion the way eyes or a mouth does. And for that reason, our brain, when we're young, we don't even draw noses. And as we get older, we just draw the shape of the nose. You have a pretty wide nose. You want to have a wide nose because that's how you get your air for the most part, is through your nostrils. So your nose is going to be at least as wide as your eye. Again, some of you are going to see it's a little bit wider. So let's get that part put in. The ball of your nose and these flanges, they're going to basically fill up this area right here. The wider part of your bridge will go here and the thinner part will go up here. By the time you get up here, this is going to look really weird, but trust me, we're going to make it work out. One thing to keep in mind is that this curve is going to start curving up pretty quick, and it's going to go up to the top of your ocular socket where your eyeball fits in. Look for the highest part of your nose. Remember, we want to try to draw in the ball of the nose. A lot of time, light or shadow will kind of define it. Some of you may really see a pronounced lip that goes on around your nostril. Some of you may not. It just depends on the tilt of your nose. If your nose is tilting forward a little bit more, then you're not going to notice this as much. If your nose tends to be a little bit more upturned, then you'll really notice these. So just pay attention to what little bit of cartilage runs along the base of that nostril. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a very faint line going straight down. I want it to be parallel to this line. Remember, none of this works if you're not paying attention to your lines being nice and parallel. If they're not parallel, oh gosh, the thing's going to look awfully cattywampus by the time you're done. The width of my mouth is going to be the width between my pupils. So that pupils, little black dots in the center of our eyes. So now I know that my mouth starts here, the opening, and the opening is going to go pretty close to here. Some people, again, it might go a little bit over, it might come back a little bit before, but for the most part, it's going to be approximately the width between your pupils. Just like on our first video, I'm going to think first about what that mouth opening, how it's shaped. I know that it's going to dip down in the center to some degree. I know my mouth opening is going to dip up, and it's going to go all the way over here. Now again, some of you are saying, oh my gosh, that mouth looks huge. Well, remember, our chin does not end here. Our chin's going to be either at the base of the page or off the page. If you made your eyes so that those blocks are maybe taller, it's going to change all of this. See, that's the funny thing about our faces is, yeah, our faces fit into this grid, but this grid is adjustable. So if I make an adjustment on the width of a nose, it changes the width of the eye. It's all related to itself. It's all related to the different parts of it all together. Hey, cool trick. The meat of our lip, it's going to fit, for the most part, in the width of our nose. So when I go to put in my rectangle with these kind of rounded edges, the bulk of my lip is going to sit in this area, and the rest of it is going to taper in from there. I said that my head was going to be 6 inches wide, and I indented it a little bit. Some of you, if you actually measure your head, are going to find maybe you needed a wider box, maybe you needed a more narrow box, but this is just me giving you an approximation so you can get used to drawing a face in this way. When you actually go to draw your face, I think the more important thing to keep in mind are the basic rules. The eyes are exactly one eye apart. The width of the nose is equal to the width of an eye. The width of the mouth is the distance between the pupils. These measurements are what you really want to be focused on. You're not always going to draw out the full grid, and you're not always going to make the face this exact proportion and this exact size. Obviously, if this was my entire drawing fitting into this little tiny box, the whole head's not even going to fit in there. So remember, be flexible with all of this, but again, this is a good framework for you to use. For this project, I want you to keep on doing this. And if on a future drawing that you go to do of yourself or of another person's face, you want to use some of this, awesome. I'm going to use the width of my eye, and I'm going to measure up to decide where my hairline starts. Different people have different hairlines. The height of their eye, though, can be used as that measurement device. In this case, I'm making this person up, so I'm going to say that their hairline is about 2 eyes high. Usually our hairline is about 1.5 eyes to 2 eyes, but again, some people it's up higher, some people it's down lower. Now remember, the top of my head is represented by my eyes to my chin, that same measurement. My eyes are halfway down. So if I assume that my chin is all the way down here, well, then the top of my head is actually going to be all the way up there. This may look like your eyes are way too far down on the face. Again, it's because that prefrontal cortex, it doesn't like to see that we have a hair or a forehead. And so on our drawings, we tend to flatten our heads. You saw that in the video where the drawing shows the head that's been more flattened. We want to make sure that we're pushing that up. Edge of my face is going to come down. It kind of pushes in where my eyes are. My cheekbone comes out just a little. Some people more, some people less. From here, it's going to curve down. It's going to curve down probably right about here to the edge of the eye. And you notice I'm actually marking the mouth opening. There's a reason for that. The reason why I marked the mouth opening is because we have a jaw, and that jaw is going to taper in at a different angle. The width of my chin is typically the width of my nose. So I want to have this kind of curve down. My chin's going to go off the paper just a little bit. And again, I think about this as kind of a straight line that I kind of then curve. So this angle right here, it's an important little angle to have right there. We want to have this angle because that angle kind of represents our jaw where it hinges and opens and closes. You may find that you have to reduce your cheekbones or make your cheekbones longer. What I do for an ear to figure out where it lives, again, we tend to draw these little tiny Shrek ears. Yeah, we need to get away from drawing Shrek ears. So what I do is I look at the face and I say, okay, where does the ear's top start in relation to the eye? If I draw a line straight over, is the ear above that or below that? And again, different people, different places. On my imaginary person here, we're going to say it's slightly above the center of the eye. The next part is I look for how far down does the ear go. So again, this depends on ethnicity. It depends a lot on age. For instance, my gentlemen, as you get older, your nose will get wider and wider and wider, and your ears will get longer and longer and longer. That's just what our bodies do as we get older. But for the most part, I like to put them about towards the bottom of my nose, but not quite at the bottom of my nose. Again, you have to use the measurement. If you're making up the person like I am, well, then you have a little bit more free reign. But if you're making up the person, again, the height of your ear typically about 2-3 eyes high. I now need to look at the hair and think about what to do for the hair. Now, I haven't really gone over how to draw hair, and again, that's kind of a video unto itself. But in essence, if you think about it this way, when you look at someone's hair that's braided, you're going to see that there are locks of hair. Those locks create shapes. I want to block in the shapes of the hair, not the individual strands, the shape of the hair. What I like to do to start is I like to think about where's the part in their hair. So let's say that this person has a part in their hair that kind of goes to the side. I'm going to give this person long hair just because I want to accentuate the effect of blocking in those shapes. Again, if you're drawing short hair, the same method, the difference being that when you draw your shapes in, they're going to be smaller shapes. I'm going to be drawing in long hair, so I'm using bigger shapes. We're going to say this person's hair is going straight back, and for the most part, I'm seeing a blocking of it that's going straight back like that. Their hair here is also maybe going straight back, but here I can see a little bit more of a break in it. I'm going to say that their hair maybe is kind of pulled back, and on this side of their part, maybe the hair is down. And again, I'm doing this a little bit just so that you can see a variety of different ways of kind of blocking in and representing this hair. And we're going to say that my person here, their hair is covering up that ear. I'm going to see that they have locks of hair, big clumps that kind of band together. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, your hair is going to be kind of blocked off in some way. Again, I'm not worried about those individual strands. I'm just worried about those larger pieces of the hair. I'm going to worry a little bit about the direction on this hair going up here. From here, I'm just going to keep on working the drawing. I'm going to start thinking about my light sources. I'm going to start shading it. If your person has darker skin, you're going to want to do a general shading over top of the face, paying attention to your highlighted areas and keeping those unshaded. From there, you can start working in your detail work. If your person's more pale skinned, well, then you can keep the white of the paper and start blocking in where your shadows are going to be. In any case, a lot of your drawing is going to be shaded in, if only slightly. Just like you saw the whites of my eyes, I even shaded those in just a little tiny bit. I realize that this is a pretty big drawing to start doing a shading project on. And I get that that might be a little uncomfortable for some of you, but again, this is just a practice exercise. Don't get stressed about it. Please don't get stressed about it. Just do your best. And if you're really proud of how it is right here, take a picture of it. And that way, if you're not proud of it when you're all done, well, at least you have that picture of it. Feel free to share with me your drawings before you start shading them. I'm not going to require you to fill in the background. If you don't want to add in any value or shading back there and you just want to focus on the face, that's okay today. My artist, from here, you will shade in your face. I can't wait to see the finished products that you create. Have a great day.